This is Rock and Roll English. Real people, real English. Here's your host, Martin Johnston.
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Rock and Roll English. Episode number 312, baby. I realised last week that I have been miscounting the way I count these podcasts, which sadly has happened a few times over the years. Who knew counting was so difficult? Anyway, you may notice my voice is a bit strange, more on that later. First of all, I want to say sorry for the delay in this podcast. Some people may not even be aware of this, but if you listen to the podcast early Monday morning, then I think you will be, because I usually schedule this podcast for 1 minute past midnight between Sunday and Monday. But today it's a bit late, and there are a few reasons for this, which are kind of connected to the theme of this podcast. So the first reason is that I've been moving a lot recently, not physical exercise, moving around Sicily whilst also trying to work, which obviously wasn't so difficult, but Sicily, as I'm sure you're aware, is a big part of my life. My wife is from Sicily. My daughter was born in Sicily, and all of my wife's family are there. And obviously, we want to stay in contact. We want to see them. So we were moving a lot, and I was obviously trying to work. Then we got home on Friday, and as you can imagine, with 2 small children running around after being away for more than 1 month, and trying to work, it's been a bit chaotic, let's say. But I was still planning on recording a podcast yesterday with my brother, Retro Rob, but in the end, it was not possible. So I spent most of yesterday afternoon panicking, thinking, what am I going to do? This is the end of the world. I haven't got my Monday podcast ready. Everyone that follows me is going to stop following me. And then I thought, just breathe. Maybe I can make a podcast where I tell people about the difficulties of trying to maintain a podcast and an online business, a kind of behind the scenes podcast. And then I thought, I've already done that, because recently I recorded a podcast with lots of Rock and Roll English family members, and one of the family members has her own podcast. She is French, so she has a podcast about learning French called the French Instinct Podcast. And I absolutely loved our conversation for many reasons, but most of all because it takes you behind the scenes of what happens in the lives of people like me and Katy, the host of this podcast called The French Instinct. Now, I won't ruin it so much because we talk about lots of things in the episode, but pay close attention and also make sure you listen to the end, as I am going to share a few more things with you to take you a little bit more behind the scenes. So, a quick message for all R&R family members. Obviously, you have already heard this conversation in our family podcast, so apologies for that, but there will be a podcast every single day this week and next week in the family area to make up for it. And of course, I will take this opportunity to tell you, everyone else, if you are interested in becoming a member of the Rock and Roll English family and listening to more than 1,000 extra episodes of Rock and Roll English and building a personal relationship with me and people from all around the world, the link is in the podcast you are listening to right now. So here is the conversation where I speak to the wonderful Katy from the French Instinct podcast. Obviously, if you are learning French or planning to start learning French, links to all of her stuff is in the show notes to this episode. rockandrollenglish.com, click podcast episodes, and then click the latest episode. So here is the conversation. I will talk to you all again at the end. Happy listening. Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Rock and Roll English Family, where I'm here with
Katy.
Oh yes, and when I saw the topic you had chosen, Katy, I thought, wow, I cannot wait for this, because if people don't know, Katy is also a podcaster. You have a podcast for French learners, don't you?
Yes, I do.
And
to learn French.
Yes, and I don't remember specifically, but I remember you have a lot of episodes. How many exactly?
Oh, more than 100. I don't remember now, but yeah, 115 or I don't remember exactly now.
No, the same as me, but more than 100. So that itself is a huge achievement. I think I told you, I read a statistic that 90% of podcasts don't go past episode 6 or 7, I can't remember, but definitely not 10, because people think this is going to be great, and then they start and they think, oh, this is quite a lot of work and no one's listening, which is like what we all have to deal with. So at the beginning, so when you keep going and you get to certainly over 100 episodes, like the amount of work. So yeah, a big well done, and I'm so happy that someone understands me. So
yeah,
I mean, I could just talk for the whole 15 minutes here, but I'll let you. Oh, talk.
You can. No. You can.
So, okay, what do you find difficult about podcasting?
Well, the most difficult part for me is marketing. Is talking about what you do in order to sell it. That's the hardest part.
Yeah.
And sharing on social media and everything, because that's not the part I love. I love creating the episodes. I love sharing with my community and everything. But the marketing part is, so much work, so much time wasted. And when you're not a professional, you don't know exactly how to do it. So you have to take courses and
so much of what you just said, obviously I can relate to, because obviously the fundamental thing is that, so like you said, you teach French, I teach English, and the training you do before, like I've done lots of training about teaching English, but then all of a sudden you're now a marketer. Like you have to work in marketing, which is a totally different thing that you've got zero experience in, and you just have to think, well, I saw a video online like that looked good, I suppose I'll try to do that, and you just don't know where to start. And like you said, time wasted. So many times I've spent loads of time making a video, and the video doesn't particularly do very well, and you kind of think, what was the point in that? Why did I waste like 3 hours making a video which has just changed nothing? So that's why for a long time I just almost stayed away from it and just posted like personal pictures and things. I've stepped it up recently, because only now, because I think like you said you don't enjoy it. I don't particularly enjoy the marketing side, but I've just kind of accepted that, like, I have to do this, like it's just part of it. Whilst before I kept trying to fight it. I was like, no, I'm going to be different. But then if you don't tell anyone about what you do, you're not going to grow.
That's true.
So
and no one can speak better about what you do than yourself.
But it's difficult though, isn't it, to sometimes like put it in a like short, concise way of like what you do, the benefits, and to make it in a way that is engaging. It's not easy to talk about that. So yeah, in some ways, obviously like we are the best people to say what we do, but in some ways as well, I sometimes think, I don't know where to start. I feel like I've got more of a message now, but for years I had zero message, zero like direction. And I remember speaking to various different online coaches to help me, and they said to me like, so like, who's your niche and like, who are you trying to target? And I was like, just everyone in the world.
Yeah. At the beginning, you want to work for everyone. You want to help everyone, as many people as possible. But then you realize it's not possible.
Yeah.
So you need to focus on a certain way of teaching and teaching to certain people. And
yeah, exactly. And so many things go wrong. In fact, just before we started this call, I was having a meltdown, a social media meltdown, because I had created this video. I'd created an automation, so when people comment, they receive the correct answer. Then I realized the automation was wrong and people were receiving the wrong answer. So I quickly said to Katy, can you check to see if this works? And that's just a standard day.
Yeah.
Those things happen like every day.
And technical issues are the worst thing.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Like sometimes you're enjoying a weekend, but I always check my messages even during the weekends, because you never know what can happen.
Yeah, of course.
And some one day I was on vacation and I realized that my podcast host was not updated. Means I thought I had paid, but it didn't work. Right. So it was a nightmare. And it's always when you're on vacation or during the weekend or something happens and you need to solve it, because it's really, really, really important.
Yeah. There's nothing worse. Even just talking about this, I can feel that feeling in my stomach I remember, so when especially when I was in Sicily and I was working at a school, and then I would get a message from someone like on Facebook or somewhere, someone saying, there's a problem with today's episode. Like either it's not been released or you've got the wrong intro, or like, I think once because I record 2 different tracks and the timings were completely off. So it was like I was talking and the other person was responding 5 seconds later. And then we were speaking over each other. And then, especially when I was there, because I didn't have my computer, and I would just think, oh my God, what am I going to do now? How many people are going to listen to this and just think, what the hell is this person doing? That horrible feeling. Even just, I think last week I made another one of those videos of like, what do you hear, A, B, C, or D? And someone from the family, Nadia, commented, what's the difference between C and D? And I saw the comment.
Remember, yeah.
I saw the comment and thought, what does that mean? And then I looked at the video and I don't know how. They were exactly the same. I wrote the same thing for C and D, and I thought, I'm so stupid, because now if I delete the video, all of these people have already commented. It's already like moving. Then if I
lose everything.
Yeah, if I make it again, those people aren't going to comment again, and the video is not going to do well, and that, like, for the algorithm creates problems, and it's just a constant headache.
But you need to accept that sometimes you make mistake. And
exactly.
And usually people are nice, our community, our listeners, they understand that sometimes there are technical issues or we make mistakes. But for us, it's a nightmare.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly as you said it. Yeah, I've never had anyone saying like, you're such an idiot, you're so stupid, like, for making this mistake, or like, where the hell is today's episode? Like, everyone has always been really, really kind, and they're just being kind, telling you like, by the way, just to let you know, there's a problem with today's episode. And that is fine. But it's just like you said, for us, it feels like the end of the world. It's like, my God, what am I going to do? This is a nightmare.
Sometimes I think, should I stop? Because I'm so stupid that I cannot deal with that. Maybe I should stop, And then I solve the problem, and I think, well, that was not that big, but
and then you wait for tomorrow, and then wait for the new problem, and then start again. But even that thing of like, should I stop? Yeah, I've had that thought thousands of times, because then I sometimes think, I just don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. Even now, I still sometimes think like, even if it's going okay now, will it be going okay in 10 years? Will I still be able to maintain this? Because it's that constant. So like you said, you're on holiday, you get messages. I have tried in the past to switch off my phone, but now I don't know if someone joins the family and they need to be added to the Facebook group. So like I kind of need to be there. So yeah, it is a scary thing, because you think, am I going to be able to keep doing this? But let's try to think of some positive stuff, though.
Of course, yes.
What do you love about it?
Well, I love creating the episodes. I love, because then I put music. It's very different from your podcast, totally different, because I'm alone most of the time. I'm talking to myself. But then I put music because I want to bring feelings, emotions to my listeners. So I really love that part. And then, of course, the community, people who join my community, and they're so supportive and positive, and they love so much what I do. It's so how do you say that? I mean, it gives me a lot.
Satisfying.
Yeah.
No, I completely agree. And it's when you get those messages from people that say things like, oh, like, I had a job interview today and it went really well, and this is all thanks to like the work you do. It's that which you think like, this is worth it, because I've said many times, when I was working at a bank, for example, you just don't feel like. I remember thinking, if I didn't come to work, I mean, there'd be a small inconvenience because someone else would have to do my job, but even if I left tomorrow, they would just find someone else. I'm not really making a big difference here. But in the online world, when you get those messages and you've made an impact on someone's life, it's there's nothing quite like that. But the music thing you said, I would like to be more creative with music and things like that, but it's just more time, to like the post editing, and I'm never really good at finding the right music for, because like you need to like, it needs to match what you're talking about. So if you're telling a sad story, you don't want happy music kind of thing.
No, of course.
So I found
it
that
takes time, but
I found that quite difficult. But I would like to do more post-production things, because I've been making podcasts now for 6.5 years, but I still don't consider myself even nearly an expert of like what I understand. I use this program called Audacity. I literally press record. I know how to like cut audio, do a few very basic things. Like if you just click on what Audacity can do, it can do like a million things, that program. I would say I use maximum 1% of that program, because there's just so much. So and even when I listen to like really professionally made podcasts, I think, oh, I would love to do that, but I've just got no idea about that. So how did you learn?
I learned by myself, everything.
Yeah, exactly.
I started making videos. On YouTube, and I enjoyed putting the music, because I love music. I play the piano, and music has always been in my life. So I can feel what music you need to put.
Exactly. So you have that
each moment, to create an emotion. I can feel that. Okay. So it's something I really enjoy. And I learn on my own, just trying and
trial
at the
and error.
beginning, of course, if you watch Yeah. If I watch the first videos I used to make, now I think, oh, that was not very good. It was okay. It was not bad, but it was not very good. Now the podcast I make now, the latest episodes, I'm really proud of them, because I can feel it's something very creative and special, and I'm really proud of what I'm doing. But obviously, in maybe 5 years, I will listen to them, and I think, well, now I'm doing better. It was not that good.
Yeah, that's a really important thing. I think the same about the podcasts. Like the first episode is probably one that I've listened to a few times actually, for various different reasons. And when I listened to that, and the first probably 150 episodes, like they got gradually better. The first 30, in my opinion, are terrible. And then from like 30 to 150, I still was speaking in a really strange way. And now I feel like I've found my voice a bit. But so, yeah, and it is, I think, a really important lesson about just life. It's a good life lesson, isn't it? Like, of just, you have to start. I mentioned this on a podcast I recorded with someone recently, actually, which probably you'll hear next week or the week after. One of my favorite quotes is, you don't have to be great to start, but if you want to be great, you have to start. But basically saying, so when you begin, you're never going to be great. You just have to accept that. But if you do want one day, hopefully, to be great, then you need to start. It's just part of the process. And yeah, I think just for everything we do in life, you can apply that that kind of thinking,
and just do your best.
You
need to do your best. Like each moment, your best now is not your best in 10 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Hopefully you improve some things, but always do your best.
And just like accept those bad moments will just be part of it. I posted something recently as well. I posted a video on TikTok and I got 5 views. But like that would have destroyed me a few years ago. I would have been devastated. But now I just accepted it. It's just part of it. So now I don't care. I just think, okay, I'll make another one.
And you need to find the balance between the time you spend doing those videos for Instagram or TikTok and what you get from them. Because if you spend too much time and you don't get a lot, then of course you give up. So you have to spend a little time. So if you don't get much result, it's still okay to do it.
Exactly. And even with the videos that I've been making for like 2-3 months now, like the amount of time I spend on one now is like at least 10 times less. But it used to take me like 3 hours to make one video. Now like I can do 30 minutes kind of thing. And that includes recording. Even the recording, like I just had to say probably like 5 sentences, but I would say and then I would record again. Whilst now it's already much better. So hopefully again I can improve on that. Well, Katy, it's been an absolute pleasure. I could literally talk to you for the next 2 weeks about this without stopping. But for me, it's so good to talk to someone that actually understands this and like has the same problems as me. So well, thanks a lot. And put your channel again send it to me. And I'll put it in the podcast so people can support you. Like when I see Katy's stuff, I always hit like, because as we've mentioned, that helps small businesses like us to survive.
Yeah, we need to support each other's.
Exactly. Well, anyway, it's been an absolute pleasure, Katy. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, Martin. Bye-bye.
Okay, so that was me speaking to Katy. I hope you got an insight there to the life of us podcasters and what it's like to have an online business. Just a couple more things I would like to say. The first is that obviously I spoke about some of the negatives of having an online business and podcast. Now, I just want to say I don't want you to feel sorry for me, because I genuinely feel that I have won the lottery of life. I have a fantastic wife, 2 lovely children, but in some ways what makes me feel even more lucky is that I do something that I love, especially because in the past I did something for a job that I hated. In fact, I actually enjoy my work so much that if I had nothing to do, for example on a Sunday, I would probably choose to work. Now, it's very rare I have nothing to do now that I have 2 small children, but sometimes when they are in bed, maybe Mrs. R&R is in bed too and I'm alone, I actually switch on my computer and start to work, as I love it so much. In fact, right now it's 7 o'clock in the morning and I am working. I was actually supposed to finish this podcast late last night, but I was putting toddler R&R to bed and I had some of that music that makes you sleep on, and then I ended up falling asleep as well. But anyway, so obviously, like I said, I absolutely love what I do. Now, of course, there are difficult times and it's not easy. As I mentioned in the podcast, there are many times when I think about quitting and getting a normal job, especially because I have to support my family financially, and I often wonder, will I be able to do this forever? But as long as I can continue to feed my family, give them food, always useful, I will continue doing this. And the second thing is, really anyone can do this. I truly believe that. Katy and I, for example, are normal people. We are not famous celebrities with millions of dollars and lots of people working for us. Quite the opposite, in fact. So if you're not happy with what you're doing, it's never too late to follow your passion. I'm not saying quit your job, don't do that. Maybe start something on the side. But what I'm saying is it's never too late to do something that you love. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the podcast today. Sorry again for the delay. Remember to go and check out Katy. All of the links will be on the show notes to this episode. So remember, go to rockandrollenglish.com, click podcast episodes, and then see the latest episode. So thanks a lot for listening. I will see you very soon, people. But in the meantime, just keep on rocking, baby.
Thanks so much for listening to Rock and Roll English. For more great content and to stay up to date, visit rockandrollenglish.com and facebook.com/rockandrollenglish. We'll catch you next time.